I stopped right in the middle of the story in the last video clip because I can only go up to 15 minutes with these things. So here we pick up Paul just having shown up at Erastus's house with a huge canvas folded up. Speaker is Timothy. Erastus, Paul announced, "This is for you." The magnificent man at my side was dumbfounded. His cheeks were already trembling with emotion, though which emotion had still to be decided. Paul said, "A man as important as you must be given grand accommodations at the games." "Me?" Erastus whispered. "A man," Paul said in the voice of announcements and instructions. "A man as aristocratic as you must not, however, sit too long in the stadium sun." "Me?" "Therefore, my dear friend," Paul said, "I have a gift for you. I have sewn an awning of the highest quality in order to shade you while you watch the games, good and noble Erastus." Paul bent down and began to unfold the canvas. Erastus followed the gesture so closely with his face and his breathless attention that he almost fell forward. Paul said, "A canopy better than any sail, for which Aquila has constructed a light wooden frame. And do you see? Can you measure it now?" He straightened up and stepped to the side. "It's large enough to cover 2 persons comfortably." Now the spare gift giver approached the gorgeous recipient. Paul put his hands on the heaving shoulders before him. "Erastus," he said, "how grateful I would be if you would invite me to be that second person. What do you think, sir? Can I watch the games beside you?" Oh, what a boo-hooing broke forth in the atrium of the manager of markets that morning. What a marvelous slobbering of gratitude and gladness. Paul did, you know. Paul loved Erastus as deeply as he did me. "My child," he said, bearing up the enormous person of Erastus, whose hugs were like the fall of painted walls. "My dear child." Something in me yearned to stand at the starting gates. I wanted to feel the stones still under my foot and to crouch, dropping my right shoulder, to listen for the strings in their grooves behind me. A runner can hear them, you know. He can hear the strings sing taut the instant the starter yanks them from his pit. Even before the post beams fall and the course is open before him, the runner knows that they're going to fall. The strings to the post, the strings to the gate beams, their cords straight to his heels, his hips, and his heart. Oh, I wanted to experience that screaming complete attention again, when I'm bent and at the ready, and there are no people, no high encircling seats, no humans anywhere in all the world except the men lined left and right of me, and the only land in existence is the white clay of the track stretched before me, waiting. Several times that spring, always in the evenings when the carpenters had departed and the stadium was empty under the sky, I wandered over to the Isthmia alone, allowing memory to overwhelm me. In those days, the entire complex smelled of the dust of fresh stone, because the ancient temple of Poseidon and the stadium both had just been rebuilt. But what to me were these pagan heaps of white stone? Well, something. I confess, they stirred to life the spirit of my father. In the sunset silence, I walked to the pavement at the start of the race course, already prepared with wooden posts, one for each runner. I knelt and touched the long grooves that fanned from the starter's pit to the posts. 8 grooves left of him, 8 grooves right, 16 strings for 16 posts for 16 athletes, all in a row. Papa would have been astounded at that number. I unbound my sandals and shuffled off my clothes and approached the post newly carven with notches. I fingered the notches and saw where the crossbeam would attach. When, at a yank on 16 strings, the beams all dropped, then the gates would open and 16 hearts would explode. I turned my face to the course. I took a light stance, my bare sole on the stone sill. I dropped my right shoulder. I bent into that familiar crouch, and immediately my knees began to tremble. Until he died, Papa had been training me for this precisely. Whether I would have loved the event for the race itself or for the sake of my father, I don't know. But I would have loved it. I'd have loved it like religion. I would certainly have honored Melicertes, the child god of the evening games, who, as Papa told me, had been born to these shores on the back of a dolphin. But for him, for my father, I'd have run like a votary, swift and devout, since he would have run within me. Ah, Papa. Oh, my desperate Papa. All his motion cut short by coughing, his body made gaunt by sickness. To him, my limbs and my speed had been as precious as life. The Isthmian Games, well, it could have been the Olympic or the Pythian or the Nemean Games at Argos. It didn't matter. I have no doubt that the man would have dragged his dry, flushed corpse to any site of sacred trial in order to watch me run and to die delighted in my victory. But he died at home in Lystra, mere days before I became a man and before I could, as a man, enter the games and save him. Then my mother made me a Jew, and the apostle made me a believer. And now I cannot take the vow required of every athlete. I cannot go down to the underground chambers and swear oaths to demons and idols. I cannot run. And so it was that there, in April, in the Isthmian Stadium, in the deepening evening, suffering the scent of olive blossom on the easy wind, and crouching by a starting post, I felt my knees begin to tremble. My stance alone, that posture of a racer's readiness, caused me to pant with longing and with sorrow. I thought I heard my Papa call my name. I thought I heard far east of me the chuffing sound of his cough. But east of me was the Gulf, and east of that was the Aegean, seas too wide for sound to cross them.